Auckland Transport has raised its parking infringement fees for people that obstruct driveways with a vehicle. It now incurs a fine of $70. That's up from $40. But residents say this has previously been understood to stop other cars doing this, not to stop homeowners from parking in their own driveways. One Auckland is urging residents to park on the grass verge in protest, as although illegal, technically it cannot be enforced with a fine. This is in Auckland by AT. Due to a legal loophole, so park on the grass. It's free, says this person. Look, I get it that many suburbs are very narrow. They were built in the days when there was not a high volume of cars ripping up and down them. But it's not only annoying but can be dangerous to walk down a road and then go around vehicles. What if you're sight impaired, in a wheelchair, and the like? I walk my dog and I worry. Well, I don't worry if I go around the car, but I've got my dog with me. I've got to put him on the road. It's just pain, and they shouldn't be there. Living Streets Aotearoa is an organisation for people on foot, promoting walking-friendly communities. It evolved from Walk Wellington, a voluntary group set up in 1998, and their president is Tim Jones, and he joins me now. Tim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Tim, thank you for hanging on the line. I understand you were there a while, but we had a few technical issues and I didn't see that you were there. I don't like to leave my guests waiting, but thank you. So before I get your thoughts about this topic, can you tell us a little bit about Living Streets Aotearoa?
Well, you've actually summarised it very well. We're the national organisation advocating for pedestrians. We want to see more people walking more often. And for that to happen, people need to be safe on the footpath and when crossing the road, and they need to feel safe on the footpath and when crossing the road. So we campaign for better footpaths, for better pedestrian infrastructure, including things like raised pedestrian crossings, and we campaign against things that make it more difficult for pedestrians to walk, and that certainly includes footpath parking.
Hang on, did you say you actually like raised pedestrian crossings?
We do like raised pedestrian crossings where they're built in the right place and appropriately. Right. I know that's possibly not a message all of your listeners are going to want to hear, but for us, they slow vehicles to make pedestrians safer.
I see what you're saying. Do you think there is enough consideration for those that are trying to get around when we look at those with sight difficulties or mobility scooters? Those mobility scooters are on wheelchairs. Is there enough consideration taken for them?
No, would be my short answer. In fact, you've already, our position is that footpaths are for feet and for users of low-speed mobility devices. For example, people with disabilities using wheelchairs or low-speed mobility scooters. Parking on footpaths is illegal. It's inconsiderate. As you've said, it can be very dangerous for footpath users, and I can come back to that point in a bit, and it's selfish. The footpath is public space, not private space.
Yeah, some of them are saying, Tim, if I can explain this, so where there's a berm and, when you drive into your driveway, there's the grass berm and then there's the footpath and then that goes into the driveway. Some of them say they're parking at that end, not kind of across the footpath. I mean, that surely would be all right.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the specifics of parking on driveways because that's not really our focus. What we are concerned about is parking that blocks the footpath.
Sure,
and that's not just, I've had some really bad examples locally where I live of people parked, they think they're parking in their driveways, at least they're parking in front of the garage, completely blocking the footpath so that your only choice is to walk out on the road. And the example I'm thinking of was right next to a blind intersection. So if you walked out on the road, just at the point a car came round, that was really bad luck for the pedestrian. But even partial obstruction of the footpath, and just from at least the story you're referring to, the photos I saw, you could see vehicles partly blocking the footpath.
Yeah. Even
that is really dangerous. And it's It's dangerous for everybody, but especially, as you said, people with blind people or people with low vision, but also people walking dogs, people with children,
which
people
I do,
pushing prams,
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as a footpath's obstructed, it can make it either difficult or impossible for people to use the footpaths. That means they have to go out on the road, and also children, of course, both people with children and just children walking. So anything that obstructs the footpath and makes walking more dangerous it's both unsafe and it's likely to put people off walking. So to come back to your original point, almost all of us walk once we get to walking age. I think it's something like 96% of people have, the ability to walk. And yet, so often, pedestrians are the less people considered. And we want to change that. We think walking is a fundamental right, and we want that recognised.